I'm muting. Hello!
We are live!
Joyee, come in! Hello! Wait, and then now, here's where we can see the chat. Okay, and that's us.
Woohoo!
Hi! Yay! Okay, this is kind of really fun. Good morning. This is ShirleyChats live from Tokyo. We are currently at NodeFest Tokyo, which has been a really fun conference. Just because, like, look at all these amazing people that are here. And so a little bit of Andrew.
Sorry to scare you.
Sorry, we're really excited, and it's like 10 a.m. in the morning, and like I think
we're all jet lagged.
Yeah, most of us are jet lagged. Well,
we're all excited.
We're really excited, but half of us are jet lagged. We're so tired. But yeah,
we're awake.
We're awake. Okay, do you want to? Let's all do an introduction. So I'm Shirley. I'm from San Francisco. Actually, yeah, I was thinking how cool it was, how international we are. So I don't know, should we go this way or that way? Speak up, and then.
Fancy.
Hello, I'm Franziska Hinkelmann, all the way from Germany. I work at Google on Chrome V8, and I'm on the Node TSC committee.
Hello, I'm Sarah. I'm from New York, and I work at BuzzFeed on internal tools and dashboards. And I love JavaScript.
Hi. So I'm Joyee. I work at Alibaba, and I am on the technical steering committee of Node.js as Franziska.
It's so cool. So originally this plan was, I had just asked Franziska because I wasn't quite sure anybody else that was going to, I don't know why I wasn't quite sure. Actually, I knew that Mariko was here. But, and then I got here, and I met you before, but we had never really talked much.
It was so brief.
Yeah.
Too brief.
I know. So the reason why I felt really comfortable asking Franziska to do this ShirleyChats with me is because I'm going to go into story time. Very briefly. Story time. So Franziska and I met last November at JSConf Asia. Ooh, hello near this. Hello.
Hello.
And we were in Singapore on the very last night of the conference. We somehow ended up at a very romantic Italian restaurant together because all of the speakers and some of the other people that were hanging out wanted to go get dinner, but it was like 12 of us, and then like nobody could seat us, so we all decided to go separate ways. And Franziska and I had never talked before. We had just learned each other's name.
Hungry.
And we were really, really hungry, and we decided to go to a sushi restaurant. They rejected us, and then we found an Italian restaurant. It was very romantic. So then we got to know each other over 2-hour number of courses dinner. and then we ran into each other again earlier this year at JSConf EU.
At the airport again.
Yeah, so we were at the conference together, we saw each other, and then we were taking the same exact flight from Berlin to Munich. I didn't know this, and we ran into each other at the gate, and I was like, I feel very much fate with you. So that's why I asked Franziska, and then I met Joyee and Sarah, and then this morning we're just like, okay, everybody get into the room.
I feel like that's the great thing about conference friendships. They're so fast, but so intense.
Yeah, because you get 2 or 3 days with each other. Yeah, and
you're talking about the things you really care about too.
Yeah.
There's no there's no build up. You're just like, let's talk about the good shit.
Yeah, so we're at a Node Actually, this is my very first Node related conference. I'm actually not. I've been saying I'm not quite sure why I'm here. Other than I just begged Yosuke, who's the organizer. I was like, please, just have me here. I'll do a workshop. I'll do a talk. I just want to go to Tokyo and eat sushi, please. But I'm so glad that I have you surrounding me to talk about all the smart things. And originally I wanted to ask about kind of Node with data visualization and performance and browsers, because I have no idea how any of it works. And so that's what I was going to ask Franziska. But since there is so many of us, skip the what have we got in common factor.
So true.
Yes, which is really cool. So because there's 4 of us, I figured what we can do is we went to the convenience store and got a bunch of Japanese snacks because we're all too jet lagged for actual beer, even though we wanted to.
It's also Again, it's 10 in the morning.
10 in the morning. Yesterday, I was like,
It
Francesca,
sounded so good yesterday, but not now.
oh, Suchige, thank you so much for following. I was like, Francesca, we can do it. We can do it.
Just believe in us.
Oh my God.
and then we come in. So yeah, we're just gonna try snacks, and then we're gonna talk about the conference, about anything. Please ask us questions. Yeah.
Yeah, like Franziska knows more about like Node and like V8 and how the engine works than like
Joyee knows a ton of
well,
stuff.
than anyone I know, except for Joyee, who is like one of the most amazing Node core contributors.
No, actually, definitely not.
She's also very modest, so you have to praise her so that we can build up her ego. Gas her up, guys. And obviously, Shirley does like amazing stuff with like data viz. Like I think the first talk I ever saw of hers was she was talking about Hamilton the musical.
Yeah.
And I had seen Hamilton the musical, so it was like a huge geeky moment for me.
Yes.
She like visualized every single line in the whole musical.
And you were so friendly. So we met at Brooklyn JS in we had met at Brooklyn JS in New York in April, and then you came up to me right after and was like, I love Hamilton, and it was really great. But that's the only interaction we got to have. But yeah, let's actually get started with the eating. Important things.
Yeah.
Okay, so I didn't go too crazy with them, but which one, Joyee, will you choose our first snack for us?
The fish sausage.
So this was Joey's. I feel like we're doing a food program. Not a program. So this is probably the weirdest thing in our mix.
Oh my god, I'm scared of it, guys. It's like, oh my god.
Fish sausage. With
Oh, hi,
tomato.
HJ-chan.
Oh, it's AJ. Hello.
Welcome.
Yes, ask us questions, please. AJ was there when we did our Shirley chats with Sarah and Nadi, Sarah Jasner and Nadi Bremer too. Ooh, Andrew, that's amazing. It must be amazing to work on such complex and widely used projects. Yes, I agree. Yeah, so we were watching Joey's talk yesterday, and you were saying 500 plus Node engineers, 1,000 plus applications.
Wow.
That's intense. Do you want to talk about that more?
So what do we want to know? Like, it's enterprise Node.js application development. Other than that,
But like, I mean, Alibaba is like, you know, you have more volume. I think you guys must have like some of the most volume running on Node of like anyone in the world, either like the top or like number 2. You know, right? Like Shirley.
Shirley.
Well, maybe the one with the most volume, but definitely one of the tops.
So cool.
What's that like working with that scale?
So it's actually like it's a very huge group, and the developers are like scattered around in different companies, so it doesn't actually give you the sense that like you're all working together in a very big team. They're just like many developers in different teams, and people just belong to the same group, and you're in one giant group chat about Node.js, and that's pretty much that.
That's the dream.
You know, there are a lot of people working on the same kind of stuff as like you, but yeah, you don't actually work on the same product.
Interesting.
But that's so amazing to just kind of have that resource there, right? Like that community just within the organization. So when I was at a full-time job, one of the hardest things was being able to talk to other people that do the same things as I do about what I'm working on. Just because like, you know, I was doing data visualization. I had a lot of friends in the industry, but then, like, there's a lot of things that are proprietary that you're not supposed to talk about. And that was kind of difficult. So
the proprietary stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, we all have it, but
I don't.
Hey, Cher, by the way, I love you too. So Jerry Moore asks any thoughts on Tableau and how to scale it up. Unfortunately, I don't work with Tableau, and I don't think...
I use like D3 when I do data viz.
Cool.
Yeah.
So
Tableau is data viz, right? Or
yeah, it is. But I guess none of us know how to answer that. Yeah.
Containers. I don't know.
I know, Francesca.
No, I don't know anything.
Francesca, please talk to us. I've been struggling with opening this.
Yeah,
one.
I thought that they were orange, but they're actually like kind of a pale white color.
So are they sausages? What are we eating?
It's like, I think it's like the
Fish
fish cakes, but in sausage form.
I mean, we could start with something that's
I really
easier to open.
I actually really want to keep one, and if I see a cat at any point,
Ooh.
Oh, yeah.
you know,
I keep failing.
Lure the cat.
like,
Oh, crap. Okay, come on. Wait. Okay. Ooh, okay, I got it. Kind
Good
of.
job.
Yes. This is hard.
ooh, oh, it's kind of scary looking.
This is not the most.
I don't want to eat it. I'm sorry. I'm gonna take the L on this.
Okay. Joey, would you like to do the honors? Because you chose it.
Yeah, just grab it.
Francesca, do you want to try some? I'll try some too.
Try a little bit.
Oh, we love WebAssembly also.
There's a. Oh, I'm really excited about WebAssembly. I don't have a real question, but other than any thoughts? Any thoughts?
It's coming.
it's
and
coming.
It's really cool that all the browsers agreed on one standard that we can all do together, because we've tried that in the past
Mhm.
without that communication and collaboration, and we didn't do so well. So this looks extremely promising.
Actually, for the me that doesn't know anything, can you explain what WebAssembly is?
So WebAssembly is a bytecode for the web, and you can compile, for example, C++ code to WebAssembly by using a tool like emscripten.
Mm-hmm.
And then all the major browsers, there's a standard for WebAssembly, and the browsers now understand, I think, the 1.0 version since a little bit. So you can run that bytecode, and it's usually faster than a JavaScript code. So it's used a lot in game engines and visualization.
I think it's really exciting. I mean, speaking as somebody who's never written a line of assembly, I cleverly avoided it in college. Okay, so I also think Rust sounds really cool, but I got in a lot of trouble on Twitter once for saying that Frank Ocean would be a Rust bro if he was a programmer, and people didn't like the phrasing Rust bro. But
what?
like a bro who likes Rust. A Rust bro.
I really
meant
like a dude.
Yeah, like a dude. And people were like, "I don't want to be a bro. Don't label me." And I was like, "Okay, guys.
Is
Okay,
Frank Ocean,
bro."
Who's Frank Ocean? Is that a singer?
Yeah,
okay.
he's really talented actually. Which is actually what I meant, because like Rust is kind of like artisanal at this point.
Okay.
You know, it's like if you like to have things be pretty and well designed and good, maybe Rust.
What's Rust used for?
Okay, so actually, hey, where are you?
Rust is like a systems level slash.
Jam is like that sausage. Yep.
It's honestly disgusting looking. I'm sorry, guys.
Sorry, it's actually pretty good.
I believe you.
You
Okay.
can do it. That last bit.
Do I have to have all of it? Can I just have
Although
a bite?
it's cold, it's kind of...
I'm not gonna say what it reminds me.
No, yes, okay, we're all thinking it, but we're not gonna say it. This is a
Okay.
PG.
Okay.
Yeah, Rust or go along for next food. Where I would actually say that like the first thing that I did when I was trying to get better at D3 was to really get into the SVG docs on MDN. But like I think there's a lot of other things that you could do too.
Wait, are we still talking about Rust? Or
Actually,
about
we can go
talk about
back
Rust
to the Rust or Golang. I have a whole pitch about the learning resources for D3, but this time around, let's kind of concentrate a little bit more on web. And so I actually don't quite understand what it means that the code looks nice always. How do you, what do you define that as? Oh, Rust is what Firefox is being ported to as they dev it. Okay.
Well, they're
In the
building
content?
Server, which is the research engine, and it's written in Rust. And Rust is a systems programming language, so it can do similar tasks to C++. But the way it's implemented, the way the compiler has checks, it's a lot safer than C++. Like, you cannot create dangling pointers in Rust like you can in C. So a lot of this mental overhead and a lot of the bugs that you find in C code is impossible in Rust because of the compiler, but it has lots of speed and you can go down on the systems level. And Mozilla is doing they're working in the research team, they're working on Server, which is a new browser engine, and they use Rust to write it. And parts of Servo are in Firefox now, and that's what we've seen in this recent release, which is just like blazingly fast.
What was the was it called Quantum?
Yes.
The latest Quantum is built on Rust as well. Yep.
Yeah. Lynn Clark has a super awesome blog post about it and explains it very nicely.
Yeah, if y'all don't follow Lynn Clark, you're missing out.
But I would say Rust is not a beginner's language. Like, it's not what I would recommend somebody to get into programming. I think it's even more complicated than C++ when you're just starting out. But if you're used to it, it makes it a lot easier and safer in some sense.
I see.
That makes sense.
So I actually thank you so much, HJ, for the link.
Yeah, nice, good link.
I think that's the one to Lynn Clark's, right?
Yeah, they had a Firefox ferry in New York. It was insane. They had like a ferry.
What?
Just for the Firefox, the release.
They had a
ferry,
big party.
My coworker took it to. Well, she didn't take it to work. It went nowhere near work. But
a ship, like a ferry, as in
like
a
literally
ship.
a boat. Yep.
I thought fairy as in like fairy godmother. I was like, what are you
A fast browser.
I was like, somebody, like, because I thought they were mythical, so like somebody wearing like a tutu. Okay. Franziska, you need to come in more.
I'm in. I thought I'm in. Okay.
Wait, there was
Hey, Sabu.
Hello.
Welcome.
So I think I was actually gonna say something. Oh, so I did a CS minor in college, and I did it in like 3 semesters. So one semester I was doing like, there was somebody that knocked
at the door. Weird. Okay.
Yes, Fairy. Ooh, hey Kyle.
Fairy is not fairy. Oh, that fairy. Okay.
That fairy. Yeah, so I was just gonna say there was one semester when I was doing like the computer architecture and like data structures and AI at the same time, and I kind of just slugged through the computer architecture class, and I never learned C++. C still scares me because I'm like, what does it mean to segfault?
Usually it doesn't mean anything good.
Yeah.
And it was like the kind of error message I was like, it could be like 500 different reasons. And hence I went into data visualization.
Yeah, data.
Yay.
Yeah, Anna was showing me some of the test coverage in C++ for Node, and I was like, I can barely read this. All right, delightful. But that's why I love Anna, because she knows everything.
But you just did a bunch of C++ changes in Node Core, right?
Yes, I just ported. I started to port the file system errors. Like previously, they're thrown in C++ land, and it's actually kind of an anti-pattern to throw that in C++. So right now I'm porting them over to JavaScript. Like we collect the error context in C++ and pass it to an object to the JavaScript land, and then throw the error from there. Like we knew the error using the context there.
Is that a breaking change in Node because the error messages are different now?
So for those errors that for the type checking errors, they should be like several major, because previously they don't follow the permanent error code that we are using right now. Like we are trying to port all the errors in Node.js to a new error system that has permanent error code. So you have like ERR underscore something as the error code, and you can look at that up in the API documentation. Like all the errors will have a code and a nice explanation about what it is, and the code is going to be the anchor on the document. So we have like ported most of the errors in JavaScript land, but there are still hundreds of errors in the C++ land, and they don't have that kind. Like actually, some of them have like really confusing errors. I think the most errors that you see people go asking around on Stack Overflow, like something like get address info errors, and errors like that. The most confusing errors are usually thrown in the C++ land, and they are thrown through a C++ helpful function that kind of assemble all the information together in a very confusing way, and you can't really you can't actually understand what the error message is talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So we are trying to just port them over to JavaScript first,
Yep.
and then see how we can make the error messages better.
That's so
Interesting.
Cool. Actually, can I ask a question? So as someone that doesn't use Node that much, like I only use Node when I'm basically going through the data and I'm cleaning it and or like I'm writing scripts to fetch it or so as someone that, again, like that's why I'm like, why am I here? But as someone that kind of uses Node on the fringe, does that mean like a lot of the errors that I'm seeing, like I wouldn't know that they're that there are C++ errors or JavaScript errors, or I'll just see the error message, and sometimes I'm confused, and if I'm confused, that's usually a C++ error. Is that correct to say?
I would say that's like the most confusing errors I would say are errors related to libuv. And right now libuv is the thing that we use to do cross-platform like system programming.
Okay.
Like so, if
is
you
it a C++ library or is it a?
it's actually C library, but you can like integrate that with C++. So the like almost all the cross-platform operating system thing in Node.js are like handled by libuv, and like. Suppose you are you are sending out a TCP request. Oh, well, actually, the most confusing ones are DNS. I would say. Suppose you are
There's
sending.
lots of confusing ones.
DNS error. There's a kind of handled by C errors. That's a different library. So the TCP errors usually like they will have some. So you send the request using TCP wrap in Node.js. That's a binding. And then the TCP wrap would invoke functions in the libuv to do the actual request.
Yep.
And then when something goes wrong and libuv will give you an error code.
Yep.
Then Node will use that error code. It's an integer. So Node will use that integer to convert that integer into a somewhat readable error code, like a string.
Yeah.
But it's still quite confusing. It's like a weird form of abbreviation, and so and then.
Well, we all know
Right now, Node kind of just like put the error code, the string error code, the system call, the path, and a few information, and then patch them into a string, and then send that to the user. And actually, that's not actually very helpful to get to know like what is actually going wrong. So a better solution would be we collect that information and Node would actually have some kind of idea what is actually going on, and it should produce something more human readable instead of just throwing all the data on a message. So so the first step is to port all these C++ errors to JavaScript. And then
is that something that people can help with? Is that
yes?
If somebody
Yes.
wants
Seems like a
to
great
get
community.
into the core?
So there was an issue created by James, but that's mostly about porting the JavaScript, the existing JavaScript errors that don't have a permanent error code to one that have one and a documentation for the error code. But the C++ errors are so. If people are more comfortable with C++, they can actually like it's not that hard. It's you can just follow the pattern, and just port everything on the process binding to something that follow the pattern, follow the existing pattern, and stuck something in and context passed to the process the binding, and then use something in internal error.js to reassemble the context into an error. So it's actually not that hard.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds hard.
I'm like understanding like.
No, I think it's a very clear explanation because like I don't know very much about any of these internals, but like
I
think it's really, you know, the notion of like we're trying to create a mapping that is human readable. We're trying to, you know, go from these codes to something that people can actually, like I as an end user of Node can use. You know.
Yeah. So
Oh yeah, I wanted the sours. Wait, are they happy?
Oh,
I'm gonna
has
wait.
anyone ever had someone tell them how good Python is for readability, and then when you look at their Python code, it's the most god-awful mess?
Well,
actually, every time I look at any code, including my own, I'm like, what did I write here? What did I mean? This is not clear at all.
Wait, let me go back and catch up on the chat really quick. Sorry to interrupt you,
go
but
for it.
I wanted to take a brief snack break also.
I want to try this sour gummy.
Yeah, I'm really excited about the sour gummies.
Wait,
But I mean, I would say you can write bad code in any language. Any language.
Actually, I feel the Perl code is the worst to read.
Oh my god! Okay, so
definitely.
quick BuzzFeed story. BuzzFeed was originally written in Perl, like, and we used to have a monolithic web app that did absolutely everything. It was the CMS, it was the website, it was the internal dashboards, it was everything. And templating, Perl is not very good for templating with web dev. 700 line switch statements. 700. I looked at the line numbers.
But it's a clear
I did the arithmetic. I was like 700, and I had to edit it.
No. Oh, wow.
No.
Sour gummy bears.
Thank you.
gummy.
Gimme. Anyway, now I'm going to eat this to
Yummy.
take the taste out of my mouth of the 700 line switch statement.
This is ramen flavor.
It does not taste like fish sauce.
Well, that previous sausage wasn't there, so it makes sense. Actually, this is quite nice. I wish we have like a little bit of napkins so we can like.
Those are good.
But yeah, this is what it looks like. Yes. Oh yeah, I'll be seeing Kyle in December for
Nice.
Google Developer Conference. So I will bring some things back. Okay.
Yeah, they're really good gummies. They're very chewy, which I particularly like.
Okay. Here.
Thank you. Oh, yay! Yay! Treasure!
Oh,
Do you want?
yeah.
Do you want some more?
They taste like gum, but
no.
then they're like gummy
You want?
It's really chewy.
consistency.
Mm-hmm.
Mm,
Yeah, I like
yum.
I like the intense chewiness a lot. All about the textures. Japan really has chewy food figured out.
Oh my god. So I just got here a few days ago and I'm so excited. So I got here and I went straight to this conference. I'm
Mhm.
so excited for...
She literally got off the plane and went to the conference. She didn't even check in at her hotel first.
No, I almost...
Yeah, you almost didn't make her.
So I went to... It was like... I landed, I went to speaker dinner, and then we went out to craft beer afterwards because I love craft beer. And then at 10:30, I get a message from the hostel I'm staying that they're closing the reception at 11. And I'm like, fuck, so I almost didn't make it. Interesting to see who eats them whole and who bites the head off first. Did we catch up on all of the past? So Golang runs its formatter every time you want to save. That's why the code always looks nice, because it always looks the same. Oh, new error code detection in Node looks really nice.
Mm-hmm.
Heaps better than manually looking up an error code. And let's see, which has 3 Python code base, which has 3 global
Oh, that's
singletons.
painful.
Ooh.
The 3 global singletons. I'm sorry.
Do any of you work with Python a lot?
Yeah, actually, that's what I mean. It's what I mostly use. So we have some Golang, but that's more like in the far back end. Like kind of our front ends are like Python through JavaScript. It's fun. I used to be more of a Ruby person. I hadn't actually worked with Python since Comp Sci 101 back in school. But
You
It's-
must be so young that they had Python in school.
I'm not that young.
Actually.
No, I'm 28.
Yeah, I'm about to turn 28.
Oh, yay!
Yeah, we're the same age.
Yeah. Yes, some code bases are intense chewiness.
We can bring that back to the States. Like bad
The intense
code.
chewiness?
No, bad code.
Anyway, I'm really sad that these are gone, but if you ever see these sour gummies, highly recommend.
Sorry, I think I ate most of it. I was like, well.
Well, they were delicious.
What did you get here? What are those?
Oh yeah, so this is one of my favorite childhood snacks. Oh, I partially grew up in Japan. I lived here for 6 years when I was a kid.
So jealous.
So she speaks really good Japanese, actually.
No.
Oh, but so does
No, it's
Sarah.
good.
So does Sarah.
Sarah? Oh yeah, yes. Sorry, every time I hear Sarah, I just think Sarah Drasner. But yeah, so this is strawberry chocolate, but kind of cute shaped. It's like kind of cone shaped.
Mm-hmm. Oh, we used to get these in middle school. We used to go have lunch at this Japanese grocery store near my middle school every Friday.
Yeah, so you can find this in like Japanese stores in America. Oh, HJ says that drink Shirley has in her hand is the best thing. I know.
Oh,
What
yeah.
is it?
It's just
Isn't it Mugicha?
Is it Mugicha caffeine?
Because it's caffeine free. Wait, can I try some?
Yeah. go
Then
ahead.
I'll be able to, I'll be able to tell if I try some.
It's supposed to be really healthy, but I just really like the flavor.
Oh yeah, it's not Mugicha. It just,
it's right.
it just tastes so.
Is it sweet?
No. I don't like sweet drinks personally, so
I don't
like
like it,
Japan
yeah.
is also a paradise for me
Yes.
because you can get so many like nice iced teas.
Also, I like the fact that their snacks and like cakes and sweets aren't that sweet.
Yeah.
I like absolutely hate really sweet things. Andrew says, "Gotta get that Pocari sweat." Sweat? Yes, Pocari sweat. It's like
It's got the best name ever.
Yeah, well, I thought what's the other one that's like it's kind of like Pocari sweat, but then if you read it in English, it sounds really weird. It's very common.
We'll find some animations.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
figure it.
Okay, so I think we technically have well, I think because you have to be you have
I'm not
to
speaking
be
till 1:45.
yeah, but
No,
then
we are on a
Oh, we
note
have a
discussion.
Oh, you're on a
Panel.
panel.
yeah.
Nice.
So I promised. I think we said that we'll get you there at
like
11.
10:15ish, 11:15, 11:15.
because they started at 10:45, so I don't want to get you
Oh,
there too
okay.
late. So
Okay, then it's almost over. No.
yeah, except we ran late, 15 minutes late. But I think one of the things that I want to talk about is all of this in the context of data visualization. So I think a lot of people that join this are here because I do mainly data visualization on this channel, and originally I had wanted to ask Francesca. So this proves you how much I don't know, which is that I had asked Francesca because all I knew was that she worked on Chrome and there was something called V8, and that's an engine, so I thought it was a rendering engine. And I was like, I want to understand performance about like, how can we like optimize like SVG and Canvas and all of that. And then Francesca yesterday was like, that's not what I work on. I was like, damn it.
Yeah, so I work on the JavaScript part, and we work very hard to make the JavaScript execution as fast as we possibly can. But all the super great looking visualizations, they are usually not done with JavaScript. So that's part of the rendering engine, and
They are done with JavaScript, or they are not.
they're usually not. Like the heavy computations or whatever is slow is not the JavaScript part. It's the putting it in the view and updating the views, right? I mean, you might make some calculations, which are JavaScript, but
see.
then the actual
The rendering
visual
part is
part,
usually
the rendering.
yeah.
That is not what the V8 engine is responsible for. So I can't help you at all.
But I think even still, like being able to understand kind of because this is so. This is what
Doesn't
this
it
is.
help to know that she can't help in a way?
Yeah, it does help out. Like even just that distinction, I was like, whoa, there's a distinction, which I feel like I should have known.
Well, I mean, I feel like this all the time because I've been a developer. It's going to be 5 years in January, and I've done like web dev that whole time, and there's a whole universe of things about like the technology supporting the technology that I write that I don't know, and that's why I love to come to these conferences because I get to see talks from people like you guys who work on like the deeper stuff, and then I get to talk to people who work on the stuff that isn't deeper, it's up higher in the sky. And,
And
like,
then you see super pretty things that Shirley is.
yeah, exactly.
But I think when you said that, one of the things was sometimes, because I've been thinking more about a lot of the heavier computation, I just move to like offline. So
Oh, okay.
like some of the most time intensive are positioning algorithms, right? And especially when I have lots and lots of data and lots of things that I want to run. But lots of things, I mean, like maybe 1,000 points or something, which in the grand scheme of data isn't that big. But like even calculating, yeah, for the browser it's huge. So even computing the positions for those, I usually do it offline, and then I load in the positions themselves. But that means that I can't do live things. And recently, I think I've learned a little bit more about like web workers from Sam Saccone. And so I've been wanting to kind of learn more about that. So I guess
if you could calculate that in the background, so
Yeah.
it doesn't slow down.
So
I think
those kind
that's
of
an
things.
option. It almost sounds a little bit like maybe you do want to look into WebAssembly because it sounds so similar to the
like the
gaming
games context.
engines where you just have lots of stuff that needs to be somewhere live and not pre-computed. So
Yeah, how are
maybe
people
that's
going
the
to
way
make WebAssembly, how should I put this? Like, there are a million programmers out there, probably like literally a million programmers out there actually, who have never used assembly, but for whom WebAssembly could become like a really important part of their jobs. Because, you know, like this is our future, basically. You know, we're going to have more and more, like literally more and more data points that are hitting these little tiny browser screens, and they're going to have more and more of a job to do. And yeah, I just wonder how, like personally, how am I going to learn assembly?
We don't need to learn assembly for WebAssembly.
Yay! So that's the first thing I'm glad to hear.
So you either use an existing library that you wrote or somebody else wrote, like some heavy math calculation library, or you can write in pretty much any language, and then the tooling is translating it for you to this binary WebAssembly format.
Cool. Okay.
Like you don't want to read it. You just need to know how to interface via JavaScript with your WebAssembly module, but you don't need to learn assembly to
But do you have
use
to, I mean, do you have
WebAssembly.
to, like, the concerns of, like, sort of lower level languages than, okay, so,
Nope.
you know,
Nope.
you know,
like assembly.
well,
Nobody like.
I mean, are there going to be pointers?
No. Well, if you wrote your original library in C++, then of course there you needed to have your pointers. But if you wrote it in Rust, for example, there's tooling to convert
Alright,
Rust
Andrew, I'll
to
learn Rust.
WebAssembly.
Okay, everything in the world is pushing me towards learning C++ and probably Rust too, so. Winter project?
And WebAssembly, the official page has a really nice Hello World example, so that's a super cool starting point just to try it out.
Wait, let me read through the comments. Just because when I upload these on YouTube, these comments don't remain. So JavaScript might create the elements, but other parts of the browser are handling the rendering. It's a no-brainer, but something you think about often. But not something you think about often, unless you're doing the work y'all do, of course. And then do you all have a recommendation for taking screenshots for regression testing?
Headless Chrome also take screenshots of your elements, probably, and not your whole pages. Because your elements are much less brittle than like the entire page. You don't want to be failing your regression tests over like 3 pixels.
So what tools do you recommend there?
Headless Chrome.
Okay.
Let's see. Web workers are really cool. We've been using Percy.io for visual regression testing.
Oh, cool.
Oh, the people who write the compilers need to know WebAssembly. You need to learn C++ or Rust or something. Okay.
Just
that's why I started being like, I have to learn C++.
But okay, I do want to ask because, you know, now that I'm kind of learning, like you said, learning a little bit more about kind of the web, like hearing things about WebAssembly and hearing things about web workers and service workers and all of these like, and then like things like progressive web apps. Like there's just a lot of key terms I'm hearing.
Wow.
So I guess for that original question about, you know, if having a lot of data and having to like on the fly calculate and like what makes WebAssembly the better option than say the web worker, I guess, coming from the standpoint of not really understanding the distinctions between them.
So JavaScript is dynamically typed, which means you have all the options to do whatever you want in your code, which means if the compiler is compiling your code, it has to account for all these options. So if you do math-heavy stuff, the compiler cannot progress it as straightforward as a C++ compiler could. Because the compiler has never guaranteed that your 5+7 really is a 5+7 and not some crazy side effect in a prototype chain. So if you do lots of math, the modern JavaScript engines are fairly good at it, but JavaScript is still a scripting language, so you don't get this C++ performance when you compile with like O3 optimization level.
I see.
Yeah.
So that's always a little harder to do lots of computations in JavaScript just because it's a scripting language.
Okay.
So if you start off with something else that you compile to WebAssembly, WebAssembly has way more restrictions. You cannot just script anything and it works somehow and implicit conversions. But because of the restrictions, we can run it much faster.
I see.
So that might be where it helps you.
And then, can you help me put it into the whole context of like my workflow? So right now, all I do is I use D3 and I use it with React. And when I write it, it's just like a React app. And then so I've been looking a little bit more into web workers, and my understanding of web workers is that, it's just a different file. It runs in the background. The format is a little tiny bit different. Like I have to import scripts and stuff. But it in my head, it's pretty much writing the same code, but now it's going to get run in the background.
Yeah. So you have multiple ones doing the work at the same time, which of course is faster than if you do it just one.
Yeah. So yeah, our understanding is that another language gets compiled into. So it isn't direct from JavaScript to WebAssembly. It's like C++ to WebAssembly. Is that?
Yes. Usually C++ or Rust to WebAssembly. And Shirley, about your question, instead of importing another JavaScript module, you would import a WebAssembly module. So if you have a JavaScript module that says, this is the one that positions it somewhere, you could replace that with a WebAssembly module, and maybe that's faster. But I think the web workers give you also a lot of speed up because you have it in the background.
Wait, so you can import WebAssembly modules into what are WebAssembly modules? WebAssembly is its own language.
It's a binary format.
It's a binary format.
Yeah. Okay.
So we can import binary into
you have
JavaScript?
to do the Hello World tutorial.
I do. Yes, I can't wait. Please send me the link later, Franzi, because this is very interesting to me. And we've actually been talking a lot, I think, at the conference about like compilation and kind of the pathways that code takes to actually do work. There's been so many discussions about like how JavaScript code is actually optimized for performance in the engines. And, it's the sort of thing that you start thinking about very much when you run into performance considerations with your code, but that you don't think of otherwise. And I'd like to, how shall I put this, be a little bit more proactive about it?
Yeah.
Think about it first.
Yeah.
Before I write something terrible.
I think that's a lot of my motivation also, and that's why I was like really excited to talk to Franziska.
We're actually like a user and Node contributor sandwich, like Node user and Node contributor sandwich.
Here. Which is really, really cool. So, so we're kind of out of time. And Captain Kraken, thank you so much for following. Yes, the little kitty. So I think we must have missed a little bit of the chats, but we do gotta go compile. And so I think the takeaways were read Lynn Clark's
Definitely.
Essay, and then try the Hello World for WebAssembly, and then for me.
Oh, and look at the Node Core Good First Contribution issues if you want to.
Oh yeah,
definitely.
We have a current learn this afternoon. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh sure. Our Twitter handles. Wait a sec. Can somebody?
Oh, yes.
Is this readable?
You can put it all the way here. Wait, so this is Sarah's, and then do we have actually?
I don't know where mine is, but can I put it in the chat?
Yeah. Wait.
Oh, thanks, Kyle.
Actually, do you want to just
actually? Joyee and Franziska's talks already went excellently well.
Yes, yesterday.
Thank you.
Wait. Okay. So, do you want to just say your handles right now, and then that way people on YouTube can.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
So yours was at MEYERINI.
Yeah, it's like Meyer and then a .ini file. If anyone remembers those from Windows, no? All right.
And then Joyee, yours is
JoyeeMcheung.
MC.
Joyee Chang.
Okay.
And mine is F Hinkle, F like in Franziska, and then Hinkle, HI. K-E-L. I'm like, alphabet, how do you work? Yes, like that. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much. Okay, thank you so much for joining, and this is super fun. Thank you so much for being on this.
Thank you for doing it,
Ow.
Shirley.
Sorry for not drinking beer at 10 a.m.
I know. We're
Forgive
so
us.
weak.
Yeah, we're not that strong.
But this was really fun. And
Thanks so
then-
much for having us.
Yes, thank you so
Thanks
much
for
for
all your
being-
questions.
Thank you for the questions, and then so please catch any of us online on our talks. And we're gonna go hang out.
Yep.
Good night.
Good
The
yeah,
other
good
side
night.
of the world.
Wait, good morning if it's your morning. Good afternoon.
Yay! All right. Thank you.